technologies, whether it's IP, whether it's Dante. Brandon, talk about the importance of really being able to see some of the things from the other manufacturers at the show to keep up with some of that technology.
Yeah, it's incredibly important because a little bit of corporate espionage is only possible at trade shows like this. And sometimes, we have to get inspired and stand on the shoulders of giants, and that's, if that didn't happen, we wouldn't be where we are as an industry today. And in terms of following the trends of network connectivity and IP-based audio transport, we have been at the forefront of that, for the last almost 20 years, and it's something that we will continue to push forward and hope to continue to try and lead in that regard.
And Nancy, we talked a little bit before the show about you guys putting Dante in some of your new products. We've got Audinate reps over here too,
Frank.
So we're giving you guys a shameless plug. But talk about when you talk about a product like Dante or an integration like Dante, what is the R&D process for something like that to integrate it into your new gear?
Well, that's it. We have an analog version, we have a Dante version, but now we can't offer Dante because of the chip shortage. So what you do as a manufacturer is you become creative. You try to find other ways that you can get the product and deliver the product. So we have found a Dante dongle. So we're selling our analog products and offering the Dante dongle until the chips are available.
We are here in Las Vegas, and I would be remiss if I didn't play a little slots. I know we've got some slot trivia coming. Let's roll that bad boy, see what our question is.
The question is, what is the best AV trend right now?
That is a broad question, but I think that you guys probably are well equipped to give some good answers. Nancy, we'll have you kick us off.
What is the best well-equipped trend? I don't know, you go.
Brandon, you can go first, that's fine.
Right.
Nancy's passing it off to you.
So something that we at Rankis Heinz have noticed in the last few years, and it's something that really kind of plays to our strengths, is a rise in products that are more compact, more full of technology, and more powerful. And that combination of technology, power, and compact, discrete size is something that Rankis Heinz has been doing now for many years. And as that trend continues to get more powerful, we hope that we can capitalize on it and bring in some new products that help go in the right direction.
Nancy, you have to answer
Yes.
now. If you don't, you're off the stage.
Oh, no.
That was
What
a heavy threat.
Well, actually, to your point, is that Wi-Fi technology. More and more companies are looking for that. Even though we hear about IT, they don't want the product on their network.
Right.
But that is the trend of where it is going to, so that everyone can have accessibility.
Fantastic. And we know that this is not your first show. So please share with us one do and one don't while you're here.
Wear comfortable shoes.
Yes.
I am telling you, it's taken me, I attended InfoComm back when it was in Philadelphia. So InfoComm, Philadelphia, Dallas, all over, not
I
just.
can't even spell Philadelphia.
Yeah.
Just not. So I would say what I learned, comfortable shoes.
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, you kind of stole my due, so I'm going to have to switch over here. I'm going to say hydrate, because we're out here talking all day long in the dry desert air, and if your throat gets parched, then talking gets hard, and then you lose your voice, and by day 3 of the show, you're barely whispering at people, and while you're trying to talk loudly over the show floor noise. So do stay hydrated.
Definitely. Well, thank you so much to the both of you for joining. We really appreciate your time. So enjoy the rest of InfoComm.
Yeah, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you for having us. Thank you very much.
Definitely. So Ben, we're in both the North and the West Hall.
Yes.
How long does it take you to walk to both of those halls?
People like me, probably closer to 20 minutes, maybe 30 because I talk a lot and I see a lot of people that I know.
Yeah, you don't know. Yeah, you just need to keep going.
I can't do it.
Well, I think we found a really great way to get to both halls. I would say, the loop, the Las Vegas
The
loop?
Vegas loop, yes.
With the Tesla cars. It's a shame. Were you able to get in that?
You know what? That's a nice tease for the segment. Yes, I think, Sam, we were able to get into it. And tell us about what you did in those Tesla cars.
There was a really fun game that we played in the Teslas. We had our Tesla Trivia Challenge with some of our favorite attendees at InfoComm. So why don't we go ahead and take a look right now. Hi Hi everyone, I'm here with John from Netgear. John, are you ready to take the Tesla Trivia Challenge?
I think I'm ready. I don't know. Let's find out.
You're gonna do great. Let's go for it.
Okay.
Before we get started, let's go over the rules. You have one entire lap on the Vegas loop to answer as many of the 25 questions as you can. Whoever has the most correct answers at the end will win.
Impersonators of which famous entertainer are often requested to officiate weddings in Las Vegas?
Elvis Presley.
Correct. How many inches of rain does Las Vegas get annually?
I'm going to say 6.
Close, but not right. How many gallons of water are filtered through the Bellagio fountains every day? 500,000, 5 million, or 50 million?
5 million.
Correct. What famous boxer made a cameo in the movie The Hangover?
Oh, Joe Louis.
No. In the movie Ocean's 11, which 3 casinos were robbed?
Oh, man.
1 point for each answer.
Bellagio,
1 point.
MGM,
1 point.
Caesars.
Not quite. What type of ion battery is powering the car we're in right now?
A lithium ion.
Correct. The MSG Sphere is one of the newest venues in Las Vegas. What does MSG stand for?
It's not Madison Square Garden. Maybe it is.
Yes, it is.
Okay, I got it.
What major sports event is set to close portions of the Las Vegas Strip in November 2023?
NFL draft.
No. How many members of the Rat Pack could you name? 1 point for each answer.
Frank Sinatra, Dean Martin.
2 points.
Oh, I can't think of the other ones right now.
Okay. The most expensive hotel room in Las Vegas costs how much per night? $25,000, $50,000, or $100,000?
I'm going to go high, $100,000.
That's it. Yes. You got it. Great job.
That's it?
All right, well, I was better at reading the questions than probably answering them. How many do you think you would have gotten?
I don't know. I think John got like 13 right.
Yeah.
And the Rat Pack one I think would have stumped me. I would have gotten 3.
Oh,
but yeah, I don't know. I don't know if I could have gotten 5.
I'm a Sinatra girl. Oh, that is my era. So, well, I'm
Metaphorically.
Metaphorically, yeah. You didn't know that I was 70, 60? No?
Yeah.
Okay, it's good moisturizer. So that was such a great time. I hope you guys enjoyed watching that. So right now, we're so happy to introduce Jake and Jacoby with Diversified and Frank Paticala with Audinate. So thank you guys so much for joining us and being here today at InfoComm.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you
for having us.
Awesome. So we are so excited, obviously, for the kickoff of InfoComm 2022. Tell us a little bit about what you're most looking forward to.
I think I've already seen them is the people. It's just been great seeing everybody here, seeing everybody in the booth, seeing the equipment back out. It's really, really exciting to be back in person. So that's...
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. It's all about the networking and the information that you get through networking. It's amazing. It's truly an amazing experience.
No, definitely. I can't agree with you. Agree with you more.
Jason, you're right. You know, people like me who are talkers and networkers, we've seen everybody that we haven't seen in person for 2-3 years, in some cases outside of a Zoom meeting. But you know, what's come with that naturally is, and you have a great perspective on this as a diversified partner, is that the role of the integrator has really shifted. In a lot of ways, you know, now the integrator has been expected to become the expert on everything. And as technology advances, and we'll get your perspective on this a little bit more in just a second, Frank, as technology, specifically IT technology advances, you know, what are some of the things that you're seeing from you know, a buyer and an end user demanding from the modern integrator?
I think, as you said, the modern integrator needs to be informed. There are so many products here that fit into similar verticals. There's a lot of new sound bars out here. There's a lot of new cameras that have some sort of tracking involved with it. And as an integrator, it's our job to really educate our clients and make sure that we're providing not only a product that we can obtain, but also a product that they're going to be comfortable with and happy with as they bring their most precious resource, their workers, back into the office.
And Frank, it's the inverse challenge for the hardware manufacturer, right? Not only are you having to build relationships with the integrators, but you're having to educate them on new products. What are some of the ways that you guys specifically at Audinate are helping educate the end users and the integrators on your new technologies?
So, I mean, Audinate's philosophy has always been trying to be market leaders in kind of bridging that gap between the technology realms. we've had all kinds of challenges. There's not going to be a conversation today that we're not going to have where somebody doesn't bring up the supply chain challenges. But uniquely so, challenges like that give manufacturers like ourselves the opportunity to push the envelope, to come up with new technologies. And as a technology advocate myself, I mean, over the years, I've always talked about how AV falls into that larger technology blanket where we can integrate with IT and cloud and managed services. And that's exactly what Audinate has adopted as a philosophy. We're trying to bring in a truly converged idea of what your solution is. And a lot of education goes with that.
Well, just to continue with that education, and since there's so much information out there now, do you find yourselves still having to educate the end user, or do you feel like that they have a lot of information themselves, or how do you see that's happening now?
I think education happens at different levels. It's about scale for some. It's about what they're used to. So yes, we've had people who've asked, like, why do I need a network switch, all the way up to how does your system integrate with our pan-global system. So it's scale, and education is needed at every level.
Fantastic.
It's interesting because you bring up a great point. There's almost this gigantic gap between what the end user used to know and what they know now, right? Most end users know at least enough to be dangerous. Some of them, in many cases, are as educated as the integrators themselves. How do you bridge that knowledge gap, Jason?
We try to present as much information as possible. As you said, we do have educated consumers. We have clients who are coming to us who in some ways might know more than our engineers, but at the same time we also have the stakeholders from the clients who might not understand all the AV technology. So it's really on us as an integrator to make sure that our documentation is as clear as possible, our conversations are clear, and that we're bringing this consistent message that yes, it seems like a steep slope to really understand this technology, but what you're going to get from this is a great meeting environment for your crew.
That's a great point. We've actually got another trivia question. Well, not trivia question. I wouldn't say trivia question.
No.
Another industry topic,
Yeah.
slot machine, random generated question type thing. Let's roll it.
The question is, what is the most exciting AV trend?
Frank, what is the most exciting AV trend in your mind today?
The most exciting trend for me is how AV manufacturers and audiovisual systems in general are moving towards the cloud. It's game changing for me. It can solve a lot of problems, a lot of issues with the hardware challenges we have today, and how quickly you can adopt in terms of your skill and your vision to where your solutions are is going to be critical.
Jason, same question.
I think it's seeing integrators moving to an agile method, trying to be agile because they know their projects are changing. The supply chain is changing everything, so they really have to be agile and move back and forth as much as possible.
I think those are some great trends. So now that we're here, share with us one of your favorite InfoComm memories, really quick.
Put you on the spot.
Yeah?
Not really.
Oh, you know you have plenty. Ones that you can share really quick.
I think the dinner that we had the other night was amazing. We met some friends we knew from Zoom from 2 years ago from the AV happy hours, and it was just so wonderful to see everybody in person.
Amazing. Frank?
There's not going to be a stage where I don't talk about the importance of diversity, right? And over the years, with all that's happened, I think UC platforms have given an amazing way to be diverse and equitable at the same time. So there are people that I'm meeting today that I have never seen before, but there's no icebreaker needed. We know them. So that's the coolest part for me. Just the fact that I'm meeting people for the first time, but it's not felt like the first time.
It's very familial.
Well, gentlemen, thanks so much for joining us on the show today. We appreciate your insight and look forward to having a great show with you.
Thank you so
Thank you.
much.
Thank you very much.
Fantastic.
And if you have seen, there is a new property on the Vegas Strip called Resorts World. It advertises itself as the most connected property in Las Vegas. Let's take a quick inside look presented by our friends over at Corning.
We wanted to bring something to Vegas that the city hasn't seen. It's been almost 11 years since the property at this scale has opened on Las Vegas Strip, and a lot has changed. Technology was really important. It was important to build an integrated property. And it was important to bring the culture that we've created overseas and bring that family atmosphere that this company's all about into Las Vegas and kind of just go back to the good old days and make it all about the employees and the guests. And that's what we created here.
Our mission within Corning Optical Communications is to build connections so the world can make them. And in Resorts World, we had the opportunity to collaborate with a number of partners to build a state-of-the-art infrastructure that's optically based so that we know, no matter who walks in the doors of this facility, that they are going to be connected. And when people connect, great things happen.
The guests, what they can look forward to when they come in here, again, is a true integrated property. We wanted to be the best in class in everything we did. So from our entertainment theater, to the acts in the theater, to our convention space, to our nightlife, to our pool experience, the spa, the room accommodations. It was all about being the best at everything that we possibly did. At the same time, catering to an array of customers, from high-level customers to mid-level customers, and we've succeeded with that.
With Corning, when we first start consulting with a customer, we ask them what they want to achieve in their space. What's the guest experience? What's that user experience? What can we bring to the table that will bring it to life? With over 3,500 rooms at the property, a gaming floor, and an integrated technology experience, we had to really start with providing key services out to the guests. That included TV, phones, Wi-Fi, as well as a full control and integrated technology experience at the guest room. Traditional networks typically focus on a one-to-one approach, one cable per one application. Fiber to the room allows you to take one flexible cable down to your guest room, down to the edge of your network, with both bandwidth and power enabled.
The Resorts World project required a strong partnership with our technology backbone manufacturer, which Corning did an exemplary job of assisting with design, providing direction, product planning, and also solutions.
We're here as a partnership. We were here to design the network. We were here to help with the install. And we came in to actually train the staff after it was open so that they can efficiently run their networks.
One of the most amazing parts of working on a project like this was seeing it all come together. When we started to see technology really come to life at the end of the day, bringing together that user experience and that employee experience and really empowering people to enjoy their stay here, it made it all worthwhile.
I had a chance to see Resorts World firsthand for the first time this week, and I can tell you, it's everything that it's supposed to be, especially on the gaming floor. There's so much wonderful AV integration. It's incredible to see. This is only the first of, I think, 6 total shows we're going to be doing from here.
Yeah,
we're going to have entertainment, we're going to have happy hours, we're going to have panel discussions all day here at the AVIXA booth, but we're also going to be broadcasting from the Tech Innovation stage. Sam, tell us a little bit more about that.
Yes, we are. Streaming, if you're streaming or if you're here live, you definitely want to take some time and go check out the Technology Innovation stage. We have so many presenters, so many great panels full of just diverse thought and great information on AV, every topic that you could think of. So why don't we take a moment to take a look at what's coming up.
There. So good to see you. Thanks so much for stopping by the Technology Innovation stage. As you can see, we're getting ready to kick off for InfoComm 2022. We're just putting the last minute touches on the stage and we've got some really great content for you. If you're interested in learning about the Metaverse, you'll want to check out the Enter the Metaverse, What Virtual Worlds Mean for Audiovisual, starting at 9:30 a.m. At 3:30 p.m., you don't want to miss Trend Forecast, IT and the Networked AV. Speakers are going to be discussing how to tackle IT operations and discuss security challenges now that there's more AV on the network than ever before. At 4 p.m., Next Gen AV professionals widening our circle of knowledge brings to the stage a candid discussion on the industry's growth and the cultivation of our newest AV pioneers. So don't forget to check it out. See you then.
The future of work will be fluid, dynamic, and cloud-powered, with experiences that allow us to be there from anywhere at any time, with meetings that you can join seamlessly, that bring us together, that are inclusive, and everyone clearly represented. We see a future where meetings are immersive and spaces are designed around people, bringing everyone together around the same virtual table, even if they're not in the room. And dynamic meeting views that keep everyone connected to the content and each other. And everyone can connect face-to-face wherever they are, with intelligent gesture recognition that uses AI to recognize physical cues, like when people want to speak and when they've spoken. With interactive experiences like collaborative chats that complement meetings. And where presenters can stand out in front of their content. And rich interactive experiences, such as digital canvases, to unleash group creativity. Meetings of the future will be more intelligent, so you can disconnect when you need to, knowing AI-powered tools have got you covered with follow-ups and action items. Our vision for meetings is grounded in a simple belief. They should offer so much more than a one-time transaction, with intelligent tools and experiences that you can access before, during, and after to keep collaboration moving in the flow of work. Meetings of the future will be designed for everyone, offering the best of both worlds, whether you're in the room or across the globe.
your response, you don't get it.
Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome to the Technology Innovation Stage, Samantha.
We're just gonna wing it. Wow, bright lights.
Big city?
I know. Should I start dancing? Is that what we're doing?
Yes, dance off.
All right, cool. This is Vegas, right?
Dance off. Welcome everybody to the first session of InfoComm. I'm so excited to be joined by some really great panelists as we talk about one of what feels like one of the hottest topics in tech right now, the Metaverse. As we get started, I'm going to have each of you guys introduce yourselves and just talk about what is the Metaverse to you, because I feel like there's as many definitions as I have shoes.
Yeah, for sure. My name is Sharath Abraham. I currently work at Accenture as a digital workplace consultant. And the Metaverse to me really means opportunity. Opportunity to learn, opportunity to push this industry, and opportunity to push the next iteration of the internet, right? So that's my 5-minute elevator pitch of the Metaverse.
I am Jessica Santiago. I am the founder of Art Republic. We are a digital art curation agency. And for us, it's a very exciting time. We have talked about moving beyond screens for many years. Artists are always looking to how can we be out of a box and quite literally moving out of these parameters of a screen. So for us, it's a really exciting opportunity to be able to push the boundaries and merge the physical and the non-physical, quite honestly, for them.
For sure.
And I'm Ashley Bailey. I'm the Director of Product Marketing for our Synthetics and Metaverse at Veritone. Metaverse to me is another channel. It's an important one, but it's a channel to explore, to engage with audiences. It doesn't have to be as scary or intimidating. I think that it's just another channel.
I feel like there are so many applications for the Metaverse, and it's being talked about in all aspects of tech. Let's hone in specifically on what it means for AV. What are the options that are out there? How can we have an impact? Jessica, I'll start with you.
So, I mean, for us, when we look at what one of our niches is wellness, is the merging of art and technology for wellness. So our artists are very specific on building immersive environments. So one of the things that we think there is a massive opportunity for is to create these environments where there's a layered experience. And specifically when working with artists, we can curate the color palettes, the sound frequencies, the movements within the pieces, and these experiences that we get to give us these moments of respite, these moments that can bring us present. We can quite literally engineer these moments of present. So that is one of the things that we think is a huge need when we look at AV from a corporate level, from a healthcare level, having these moments where we can really have some reprieve and really become more present is vitally important right now, that I think this technology can really benefit.
I agree. What are you seeing, Sharath?
I think there's just such a big opportunity because I'm a tech nerd at the end of the day, right? So, when I was, at the core base of it, in the engineering side of things, we all rely on Revits and CADs and all that type of technology to figure out how to install all this stuff in a building, right? So I think the future of that is the collaboration aspect of utilizing that technology and then pushing that to the future. So let's say, for example, I'm an engineer in my pajamas at home, my project manager's on site, and then I put on my VR headset, and then while he's on site, I'm actually looking through the schematics and rotating it and pushing it around and adding it and then creating simulations on how things will work. So that allows us to collaborate on a newer level. And if we think about it, the next generation of kids that are in college and high school right now, they're gonna expect stuff like that, right? That's the cool stuff.
Yeah.
Zoom, Cisco, Microsoft Teams, we all have this collaboration software, but we need to make it more fun, right? How do we make collaboration more fun? The way of work is different now, right? We're not all going into the office anymore. Sorry, you're not gonna catch me in the office every day, right? I wanna use that immersive aspect of being able to, you know, kind of, everyone remember Minority Report where the guy's like, let's do that. Isn't that fun? Like, wouldn't work be more fun that way? So there's a lot of opportunity to use what we already know and push that boundary on how to collaborate and actually, you know, get stuff done.
How are you guys bringing it to the forefront? How is it being integrated in your either the client-facing work or even just sort of the business side of things?
Well, the biggest way is with synthetics. AI voice, either custom, stock voices. Right now you see that a lot with celebrities and athletes. I think, you know, 3, 5, 7 years from now, it's going to be more on an individual level, replicating that individual's voice, of course, in a secure way using inaudible watermarks and, you know, biometric securities and hyperreal avatars. Brands especially they're kind of the first ones outside of the gaming industry, kind of explore in the metaverse, and a lot of what they're going to need is that synthetic technology to become a fully immersive experience.
Just a reminder for the audience, if you guys have questions throughout, please feel free to log into the Slido and ask your questions, and we'll integrate them as we go. I know that with Metaverse being still very new and very undefined.
I'll start throwing random words like digital twin, so you guys can Google stuff later, right? So write down this word, digital twin. So a digital twin is a virtual representation of either yourself or a building. And you can utilize a digital twin to almost make decisions in the artificial intelligence world from all the data it gets. So as a digital workplace consultant, we recommend IoT sensors and edge computing to kind of gather all that data and make decisions so that a person doesn't have to keep track of everything, right? So if one thing that everyone in this industry is gonna Google after this is a digital twin, which I think will be very prominent in the next couple of years, especially with large companies.
So obviously, you know, as someone is thinking about how or if the metaverse comes to play in their strategy, how do you justify that business case? This is so new and it's so cutting edge in so many different ways. It almost feels like the early days of the OTT conversations where folks really are still defining it and how they want to engage and how do you define that business strategy to make sure that this isn't just the next flash in the pan or the next 8-track tapes?
It's absolutely going to be the next iteration of the internet. Like that, there's no doubt about it. That's the direction that we're going, and so it shouldn't be. Should this be part of my strategy? Like it has to be part of your strategy. It really does, and it really is. You know, like that .com or the cloud. You know, when the cloud came out, and everyone's like, I don't know about this cloud situation.
It's just somebody else's computer.
You know, it seems so ethereal, and metaverse is so trendy, and it's such a buzzword, but it really is going to be that next iteration. And then we'll see, and we already are seeing, you know, Web-3, which is really all about this decentralized community, and metaverse is a huge part of that.
Yeah, I mean, if you want to do some research, by 2030, according to Gartner Research, the metaverse is going to have a market opportunity of $700 billion. So $700 billion is a lot of money. And then if you also look up some stuff on the internet, you can Google Jamie Dimon and how much he's put into the metaverse world, right? So Jamie Dimon is the CEO of JP Morgan Chase. So if JP Morgan Chase is putting some money in it, I feel like a lot of companies should at least get yourself a headset or Google some things, right? So it's just, like I said, it's an opportunity. You don't gotta start big, start small, right? Just pick one thing in that's part of the metaverse, because the metaverse, everyone thinks it's one thing.
Right.
You put on a headset, virtual reality. No, the metaverse is a constant continuum that goes from hardware, software, art, immersive experiences, and environments that you're kind of taking from the real world and the virtual world and blending it, right? So that's pretty much, if you need a business case, just the market opportunity for money is there for everybody to get a piece of the pie.
we've seen, like you said, brands are some of the first, I think, adopting it, and we've had a lot of great success in working with brands and pairing them with artists.
Yeah.
I think for us, one of the most important things for them to consider is strategy, really approaching it strategy first and making sure the collaborations are intentional. We've seen a lot where people just kind of want to check the box and I'm a part of it, and it looks so ill-matched. It's like, how, it just makes no sense. And then that makes it even more confusing for people to understand what is the point in this and why are you doing it. But when we see them done really well and it's deeply intentional and the values of the artist align with the values of the brand and the heritage of the brand, and you're actually providing a unique experience that your users see real value in, whether it's through the utility, we do a lot obviously with NFTs and within that whole realm, it's just a great entry point.
Yeah, I think strategy is a key piece of it, and you know, I'm going to toot Accenture's own horn right here. We actually created a business group within Accenture called the Metaverse Business Group, where we do exactly what you just said, right? Help companies and clients figure out a strategy on how to use the metaverse to, again, reach different audiences and get more people immersed and excited about their product. So for example, Nike, right? Like, I'm a sneakerhead, so I have about 50 sneaker pairs at home. And I love when companies like Nike utilize that technology to kind of see, oh, look at this new Nike sneaker that's coming out, and you start rotating it in the store, right? So if anyone's ever in New York City, go to the Nike Innovation Lab Center. You're gonna have the best time of your life if you like sneakers.
Taking brands, just going off that, I think one of the biggest pitfalls brands can make, and some have, is trying to always create a mirror in a parallel experience. It's not always, it doesn't always have to be the case. I mean, audiences are craving like different types of experiences and content, and it should make sense for their audience, and maybe they want to tap into a new audience, but you don't want to alienate your audience either. So it doesn't always have to be this parallel mirror experience. You don't want to be going through a grocery store virtually and taking things off the shelf. Like, no, I can do that in real life. So that's just one thing. And we actually just launched something called Veryverse, where we help brands and others and guide them to their metaverse
for sure
as well.
So you guys both talked about, sort of intent and that integration and the different experiences that folks want. We've got a question here from Nathan about how you fit that into workplace, right? You say we're not going back to the workplace every single day. Don't tell the boss. But how do you integrate that within the concept of hybrid meetings, and which I know is the other special buzzword?
So I've been in Accenture for 3 months now, and when you say how do you incorporate that into the workplace, so Accenture has about 700,000 global employees around the world, and they created their own metaverse using this program called AltSpace VR, and that's how I got onboarded. I didn't go into an office. I went into the metaverse, and I got introduced to HR reps. That I think one rep was in San Francisco, and she was onboarding me on my new position and giving me all this application. So there's an opportunity for training to happen, right? Because when we were in the office, we learned so much better, right? Because I'll go next to you and be like, hey, I was working on this design. Can I pick your brain about this, right? So let's say we do that, but from home, right? You get in the metaverse, 1 p.m. to 3 p.m., all the design engineers are meeting by the fountain in the metaverse, and you kind of just start picking your brain instead of doing the whole Zoom call, office meeting type of thing, right? I remember I tried that thing where I'm like, hey, I'm going to be on this Zoom call for 2 hours. If you have any questions, join my Zoom call.
So awkward.
Right? And then now you're on this Zoom call just waiting for people to join, and then nobody joins. So I think the metaverse allows this opportunity for us to create more connections with each other as companies get more global and as companies expand into different locations.
Yeah,
for sure.
There's such a huge need for that. Now, we work again in the NFT space a lot. So all of these companies, anything related to crypto is scaling so quickly, and everyone is global. I mean, it's such a standard now. It's a total norm that their team is on all parts of the world. So it does, I think there's so much value in that, especially as we're building out creative projects. You need that real human interaction.
Yeah, you do.
It's not coming through a Zoom.
I mean, think about what we used to do for client meetings. We used to hop on a plane and go to your client, and and then you just plane ride, and then Zoom happened.
It was that important.
Right?
You had to be there in person.
Exactly. Now Zoom happened, Teams happened. Now we have client meetings virtually on a Teams call. Well, what's the next rendition of Zoom and Microsoft. It's going to be an immersive experience where you go into this world and you show your client the schematics of what you're building, the buildings, where the HVAC, it's just so much opportunity just to be more collaborative meaningfully. Meaningful collaboration, I think, is the biggest piece that the metaverse allows you to do. Not flying somewhere and kind of figuring out what to do. When you're in that space, you kind of get into it, and for me, it makes it more fun, right? So, you know, the future is fun for me.
I think it was another Gartner stats, like in 3 years from now, like 25% of our work day will be spent in the metaverse. And I think everybody has this fear of like, oh my gosh, I'm gonna have to sit there with these, you know, headsets on. I think those are gonna evolve.
Yeah.
And those are gonna evolve quickly. So I do believe that stat is pretty much gonna be on par. But I think the equipment will advance and change. But it'll definitely allow for that more authentic experience when we're connecting with each other.
So Charles from our audience actually asked a question about infrastructure, right? What are the requirements right now to be able to, like, where does somebody get started, and then how do you scale that in a way that's effective and doesn't immediately eat up the entirety of the bottom line?
Yeah, I think infrastructure-wise, we're still early on in how much actually data processing the metaverse needs. So you kind of have to be almost strategic in terms of what you're going to do inside the metaverse, and also create technology and also create your infrastructure to handle all that data, right? So for example, if you have a hologram, right? A hologram is you have to create that hologram. That means you need a high-end computer to create that rendition, right? So that's what I mean by this is just the beginning. Do your research on what you're actually strategically trying to do, whether it's in advertising, whether it's in supply chain management, whether it's in computing, right? Just figure out the technical specs that you need. We're all design engineers, or most of us, right, are technical in design, and I read tech specs for fun, don't ask me why, but you know, read the technical specifications of what you're trying to do on the back end. But yeah, I mean, IT, switches, that's already there. Like, it's just having a conversation with the team saying, hey, I want to utilize this metaverse application on the network. It's going to take this much bandwidth. Do we have that bandwidth? And the IT team then goes, actually we don't, but let's plan to add another switch or add more, you know, applications or bandwidth ability so you can do that, right? So it's just conversations with people with what you already have to make that happen.
How do you, so obviously another big theme that's coming up, and I know is going to be very, very prevalent throughout InfoComm, is hiring and retention. And obviously you can't hire somebody with 10 years of metaverse experience. So what are those skill sets that folks can learn and they can grow themselves, and or that you're looking for when you're trying to set up the right team to come in and be able to make those recommendations and get this kicked off and going?
I would say whoever plays Roblox. No, I'm just kidding. No, I think you know, in terms of opportunity to hire different industries into it, right? Because the metaverse still needs a lot of people to create content, right? So who are the people that are creating content? The creatives. You know, I'm not a creative person, right? I can't create an artist or draw, but I have plenty of friends that are creative. So you go into different organizations like art institutes, graphic designing companies, and then kind of partner with them, right? Because that's another opportunity. We're here at InfoComm, and there's the talk about partnership is happening everywhere, right? Everyone's like, hey, we should partner on this, we should partner on that. So I think that allows you to then figure out who I need, because now you're partnered with someone that has that aspect. So like, all right, cool. I need someone that knows this, and that. So at the very basic, you need someone that understands the back end of it, right? So if you find someone that can talk about blockchain all day, hire that guy, right? Because if he can talk about blockchain all day, he can help you figure out what you need to do. Or an NFT. If someone is excited about an NFT, have additional conversations with that group. And then, but at the end of the day, everyone's on the internet. Join a Discord group, right? There's a gazillion you know, blockchain Discord groups, and then you can always, you know, meet people in that environment and figure out what you actually need. So, you know, that's my opinion on that.
Yeah. What about for you guys?
Yeah, I would agree with that. And the creatives, most of the roles that we're seeing are coming out of marketing and the creative world. But I was going to say the exact same thing as Discord. Like it's a very strong community there, and yeah, I think we're all learning this at the same time, really. So it's finding people who are excited.
Yeah, that's the big piece. No one's an expert yet, right? No, I'm not an expert. I just love Googling metaverse things all night, and then now I'm in the rabbit hole of different technologies, right? So I think one thing that everyone in the audience should take away is that no one's an expert yet, but there's an opportunity for you to be an expert and allow you to learn and grow as the metaverse and blockchain and NFTs grow as we continue to move.
I definitely think it's so exciting that there is such an equal partnership now between art and tech.
Yeah.
It used to always be we would lean one way or they were very disconnected. Now there's these beautiful, deep collaborations and so much respect given on each side. I mean, our team, we've got the blockchain enthusiasts that can recite everything. We're like, okay, if it can do this, then as an artist is thinking, okay, so I can program my artwork to change and evolve set on times of day or sets on years, and so we're like, there's this beautiful sense of collaboration that we've never seen at this level before.
Yeah.
I want to shift gears a little bit, as you were, because a lot of what you guys are doing is bringing those spaces together. I want to talk a little bit about responsibility, right? Deliberate has been a common theme up here today. Where does responsibility come in as far as where you take this? What are those opportunities? How can you integrate that technology in such a way, right? Because the opportunity is incredibly vast, and we're still defining how it impacts all these different industries. So how do you bring it forth, in wellness, for example, to make sure that we're respecting a lot of the expectations of privacy and integrate there?
Yeah, one of the things that we started doing early on was these live data art installations. So they're meditative, maybe they're sculptural LED installations, but they can be embedded with AI sensors. So we're using voice analytics, biometrics, we can read dwell time, traffic, foot traffic, all this information, but it was really important to us that we were working with, like when we chose our voice analytics partner, that it had anonymity. So we can pick up the read of a room, we can give our client the sentiment, the emotion that we were able to evoke throughout the space that we built without saying who was saying what they were saying. We can tell the tones of what the words were said in, still with anonymity. So that's something that we're really having to do a lot of research on. Again, it's still a lot of uncharted territory, but there are people, especially within our ecosystem, we work with Algorand really deeply, and that was one of the reasons, because they are so adamant about being on top of privacy and really being delicate at how we're handling all this data.
For sure. How can we translate that into some of the other really hot fields where there's opportunity, live events, higher ed? There's several questions about how you integrate this and take that step further with live events, and where responsibility comes to play, particularly there and within higher ed fields, where a lot of times that's a big component of student safety, and how do you integrate there?
Well, tech providers, we have a responsibility, and to have ethics has to be a core value. It's like when we're creating a custom voice or a custom avatar, like it always starts and ends with consent, and never creating content or a hyperreal avatar of somebody if they haven't approved of that. And I think so ethics has to be part of it, and working with technology providers who don't have that part of their core tenet would be questionable. So yeah.
Yeah, the internet still has a big problem, right? Like Web 2.0 still has a big problem with ethics and censoring and figuring out creating a safe space, right? So I think because the metaverse and Web 3.0 is just the extension of the internet, we take what we learned from how you create guidelines for spaces like Twitter and Facebook and what those companies are doing, and then kind of partner with them and kind of lean on them to see what they're doing, and then kind of make it our own customized type of way. So you don't have to kind of create a whole new application or a whole new process and procedure. You kind of take bits and pieces of what's worked in the previous iteration, which is Web 2.0, and then correlate that to the metaverse industry, Web 3.0, and then customize that. Because right now it's the wild, wild west, right? Like that's pretty much what it is.
Very much so. So, where do you get started, right? You've got the ethics, you've got the drive, you've decided, yes, this is part of my strategy. Now what? What do you do next to get started from a technology perspective, from an integration software? How do you dive into that? What are those first steps that you're taking?
Yeah, I mean, companies like AVIXA already started. They created an XTG group, which is a group that's dedicated to the whole metaverse and XR, VR kind of environment. So it's pretty much, getting a couple of people together and say, hey, are you interested? All right, cool. Here's a small budget, right? Figure out what you want to do with this budget, whether it's buying a hologram machine, buying a virtual reality treadmill, buying a headset, or you get in the creative realm and have a partner with creative companies and say, hey, we're the technical people, you're the creative people, let's kind of be friends and figure out how we can provide value to our clients, right? So for me, when I don't know something, I look for someone that knows more about that subject than I do, and I have a conversation. So I think this allows partnerships to evolve to then figure out how you want to move forward, right? Because why start from the bottom when someone already kind of is at a certain level? Create a partnership, figure out how to provide clients the best possible outcome in this new application, and then work from there. I mean, we're at InfoComm. The reason that this is an industry is partnerships, right? Half the applications, half the products, half of everything is a partnership of some sort. So I think that would be the first rendition for me, at least, is just to say, hey, what are you doing over there? Let's be friends.
Jessica, what are some of your favorite applications and devices that are out there for integration?
Well, I mean, we are incredibly excited about HoloLens. We think that for us with artists being able to go into a space and look at it, like you said, the partnerships, the earlier we bring on creatives, they look at things from an entirely different perspective. So we've had a lot of success with artist residencies where we actually bring the artist in, not just for 1 or 2 strategy meetings, but continuously to be within the brand, within the space, within the company, to see it, feel it, look at it, things from a different perspective. But then from there, I mean, I think for us, for the artists, that is one of the ones they're most excited about.
Yeah.
What about for you? Are you seeing some of those? Where are the places that people should stop by today to be able to see some of those really amazing applications?
Well, to be quite honest, this isn't 100% our space that we're usually in, so I wouldn't have a recommendation there. I think this is all fantastic, but I think just making sure that it's part of your strategy and making sure that you're keeping an eye on what's happening in the metaverse space. And as you were mentioning before, there's all sorts of different metaverse platforms out there right now. It is not one metaverse, so it's just a chance to explore and experiment.
Yeah, and I think a lot of companies out here are probably doing something, but they don't actually put it out there yet, right? So like if you're going by a booth and you can be like, hey, this guy Sharath, man, he was talking about the metaverse like no other. Are you guys doing anything in the metaverse or blockchain or NFTs? Actually, your supply chain, are you using blockchain technology to figure out how your supply chain is gonna be in the next 10 years? Because that'll help me get some stuff, right? So I think, I don't know exactly, which is why I'm here and I'm excited, is I'm just gonna go to all these booths and be like, hey man, I got this application, can your software do it, right? So there's plenty of opportunity to kind of ask questions to every single booth and say, hey, have you thought about it? Because then what's gonna happen is they're gonna go back home and say, hey, I had so many questions about the metaverse, maybe we should start doing something in this space. What do you think, right? And then that conversation. And then InfoComm next year, we're gonna see like 30 metaverse booths. Everyone's just gonna be virtual.
Where are we? So there's one question that has come up several times is around some of the definitions that exist. How important is it, right? How are we defining, you've got AR and VR and XR and sort of everything in between. How important is it that we clarify and standardize those definitions, right? Yeah. What are those definitions for you? And Ashley, we can start with you. And then how important is it to clarify those definitions either fundamentally as a standard or at least when you go into client meetings?
Yeah, I mean, I think it is a little nuanced, and they are all a little bit different. Like with augmented reality, and then you have virtual reality, and then mixed reality and extended reality. But I think when we're talking about all of those, we're talking about an immersive experience or a partial immersive experience. But one could argue that right now we're having a mixed reality experience, like right now. So I think as long as you just have that, image in your head of some type of immersive world or experience when you're going to talking with clients, then I don't think you need to go I don't think you have to be totally nuanced with all the different definitions.
Yeah, I think if you're going to define each one of them, it then helps you figure out what product type that you're going to kind of pick and choose, right? So if you're doing mixed reality, all right, am I doing an LED wall with spatial audio so that everyone can be immersed in that environment? Am I picking up microphones that are going to be here, right? So an extended reality is just an extended reality, right? What kind of cameras do I want to kind of show off, right? So everyone watched, hopefully, maybe, I don't know who watches sports, the Super Bowl, or the Carolina Panthers. They had the Panther jump on the stage, right? So like on the back end, that's all cameras and displays and computers, right? So then defining those different pieces, extended reality, virtual reality, mixed reality, then allows you to now say, all right, if I'm doing extended reality, I want to do this. If I want to do this, I need this product. So then it allows you to then get deeper and deeper into the solutions that you want to provide for your client. Because if you don't know what those differences are with that, then you're kind of just throwing stuff at the wall and think, this might work, but you got to be more strategic in that way. And I think that's why it's important to differentiate between those.
How can we take the concept of all these different technologies, be very deliberate about the experience we're trying to provide, and be very conscious of then that extension into personal health and wellness and privacy and sort of all these things that we've learned? How do you combine that into an experience that takes it then a step further? You hear a lot, for example, recently about on fatigue from, right, like being on camera all the time. So how can we take lessons that we've learned, especially over the last couple of years, now that this is just part of life, and bring them into the metaverse experiences and into our strategy so that we're being very deliberate about that experience and we're not just completely wearing people out?
Well, it's kind of ironic, but I think people, when they're going into a metaverse environment, and especially now that we're going to be moving, the gaming world's still going to be there, but we're going to be evolving outside of the gaming world. People are actually going to be after a humanized experience still, and something that feels authentic and that they can trust. There's actually been studies that in the the healthcare industry, people will open up more to their doctor's avatar than they will sitting in the room with their doctor.
Yeah.
Maybe they feel less judged. It's still that doctor that's going to see that information. But so I think just humanizing those experiences, we're going to get away from the avatars that are more like fantasy and escapism. It's not going to feel as jarring going from one to another. It'll be more hyper realistic, where it won't feel so different, and the worlds won't feel so. I mean, obviously it'll be still quite different, but it won't be so jarring.
Jessica, how can art come to play in that to help with that transition and help users feel confident and comfortable?
Yeah, our artists that we work with are very cognizant of this. When we look at the way a lot of the current platforms that we use, the colors that are used, the design, it's designed to hold your attention for as long as possible. And artists are very sensitive to that. We all are. That's why we feel so fatigued. So they're being very cognizant of the color palettes that they're using, the lines, the edges, especially when it comes to immersive environments. It's pretty remarkable how quickly we can engineer a certain state. So they look at it as, do we want a meditative state? Do we want a state of collaboration? Do we want a flow state? So when we design rooms, it's, really being very attentive to those colors, the movements, really slowing everything down. I mean, a lot of the artists that came from the digital art world, before we had, NFTs and blockchain where they could actually make a living selling their artwork, they were doing commissioned work. So they were working predominantly with creating visuals for other performers. That was a huge part of the industry. And so they already have this unique ability to be able to feel a crowd and be able to move them through these different states of being. But they are all, very cognizant of making sure that we're really taking it down to where we feel comfortable being in these spaces. And it's,
yeah. And I think it's just asking those questions, right? If you create something, then ask the questions, right? I think that's part of the whole idea is getting feedback as you go along, right? I think in an agile workspace, you create something, get feedback, make that what you just created better, right? And then that's how you keep going when it comes to those, because I can never predict what my wife is feeling about something, right? So in the beginning of our marriage, I was like, listen, if we're gonna make this marriage work, I need you to tell me exactly like what I'm doing wrong, because I'm not gonna guess what you think you want me to do, right? So almost in that same factor, you kind of ask, you create something or you do something, you say, yeah, how does this make you feel? Do you feel okay? Do you feel safe? Is it a safe space for you? How does it, how do you feel about this color and things like that, right? So it's always pushing the limits on asking questions to make it better.
It is so great that we almost, having been through the realizations that we have at this point from Web 2, it's really great that we have all of that knowledge going into this, right? Because it's front and center. Now everyone's talking about wellness. That's at the very top of the conversation when we go into this, because we've learned a lot on, what's the other extreme.
Right, and then just use that and then make Web3 better, right?
Yeah.
Exactly.
What are some of those challenges that are going to arise and that you have already heard or seen when talking to say, we'll call them traditional AV customers, right? In explaining the value and the accessibility, and what are some of those challenges and those conversations that you're having, and then how are you taking them through that conversation?
Yeah, I mean, I think like 2 weeks ago I had a client and I'm helping him strategize his collaboration and conferencing space. He goes, listen man, I don't need to talk about the metaverse. I'm like, all right, so we're gonna start the meeting? Jesus Christ, right? So I was like, I'm not here to talk about the metaverse, I'm here to help you solve your problem. But during those conversations I have about conferencing collaboration, I ask him questions. Where do you see the future of collaboration? And they're like, what do you mean? I'm like, where do you see the future? Like, what's your plan, right? And I think it's up to us in the AV industry to kind of push our clients a little bit, right? I also coach basketball because I love the sport, and obviously I didn't make it to the NBA. So when I coach basketball, when I have my kids that I coach, I like to push them, right? Because they don't know their own potential. They don't know that they can be great, right? So you kind of have to go with that same mentality when you're with clients. They don't know that they can be great by utilizing this technology, right? They don't know that they can do amazing things or make their brand even better by starting to think about how to go in the metaverse. So I think if you can tiptoe the line of delivering what you already deliver, but then push a little bit more to make them think that I need to start strategizing and thinking about it, it won't feel as forced, right? It won't feel like if you're sitting next to me at a bar where I'm talking about the metaverse for hours.
Yeah. We've seen a lot of doing stuff that's just a one-off, an event where we come in for employees and we bring in artists and we can bring in some of the technology, or they do a large-scale event for their brand, but that way it's a nice, easy way to begin it without
a little
liability,
pie, right?
Yeah.
Little slice, little tiny slice. Yeah,
baby steps.
Yeah.
Baby steps.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, it's a little bit more on the brands and the rights holders and individual rights holders side, but copyright infringement, especially when we're talking about NFTs or content misappropriation. So there's we're actually helping to solve that at Veritone, especially with NFTs and providing verification and working with only those who own the rights to that content. So it's a huge issue. The blockchain in and of itself is secure. The NFTs are I think 70% on one of the marketplaces right now is copyright infringement. So technology providers and AI providers like Veritone, helping to solve that problem, but it's something that needs to be addressed as an industry right now.
So you guys talked about NFTs and blockchain. We've sort of danced around the role that obviously crypto does and has to play within Metaverse. So we have a question from Kyle about, there's still, though it's here and it's been here, and there's still quite a bit of hesitancy, especially those, from a mainstream perspective when it comes to crypto. So how saturated do you think crypto needs to be within the world and within marketplaces in order for Metaverse to be truly successful and really just completely integrated with everything we're doing?
Yeah, I think the crypto is a piece of the Metaverse, right? So crypto is a subject line in Metaverse, and I think, future payments for transactions are going to be transactionalized in the Metaverse utilizing crypto, right? So for example, back to my article about Jamie Dimon and JP Morgan Chase, right? So they're putting so much effort into creating a space where you can utilize the cryptocurrency in a virtual environment to pay for it, right? But like I said, we're still at the beginning stage of where that's going, so it's up to us to kind of think about, hey, in 10 years, do I want to give an option for my clients to pay me in crypto? Do I want to give that as an option, or is that something? Or hey, with my suppliers, do I want to pay in crypto so I can keep track of all my blockchain interactions in the Metaverse world, utilizing crypto as a payment form? I mean, at one time we were all paying in cash, and then we were paying in credit cards, and now I'm using my phone to pay for stuff. So what's the next rendition? Utilizing a cryptocurrency to pay for those applications, because I just think that that's the need in this space, especially when we're dealing with global companies, right? And you're dealing with transactions that are happening in a quick second. Because back in the days, I used to MoneyGram my grandma $25 every month to India. Now I can be like, hey, grandma, you want some crypto money, right? And then just send it right on my phone.
Yeah.
I think one of the things to remember is, there's obviously many of them are focused on becoming a mass adopted currency, but a lot of them, it's really the technology and what the technology is empowering. And I think there's, a lot of people, when we have artist events and we have these kinds of panels with artists and people that come there that are still very skeptical of NFTs or crypto in general, and then they hear how the artists are leveraging the technology to have now a stable living, to be able to buy a house, because they're able to have collectors, and it's really leveraging the technology to be able to create their work as an asset. So, I mean, that's something that we try to remind people of too, is there's so many different ways that each of these will go. But even look at Time Magazine, they did an incredible, very successful NFT drop with 40 NFT artists, and then they started offering their subscribers to pay in crypto.
Exactly.
And you have this legacy brand that, and still majority of their audience is paying by check or credit card. But they were like, why would we not open up to another revenue stream of people that would never have subscribed to us otherwise?
Opportunity, as I said,
And I think one of the things that needs to be, it's being addressed right now, but needs to be addressed within the next 3 to 5 years is the energy use of blockchain. It's just still poorly inefficient for most blockchains right now, and that will have to be addressed in order for this to really, really take off. But it will. I think that the industry will address it, and I think that, like you were saying, in 10 years, there's thousands of cryptocurrency right now. There's several different blockchains, and I think this is my personal, not Veritone, but I think that we'll start to. I think that will scale down. I think the productivity will scale up, but I think that we'll see. I don't think that we'll have as many cryptocurrencies out there. I think that it'll balance out. There's going to be, the ones that we as a society and industries deem are legitimate, and you have some countries completely banning them. You have some totally embracing them, like El Salvador. So I think we'll start to see it balance out. But there's definitely some things that need to be addressed, big things that need to be addressed before we'll start to see that happen.
Yeah, for sure.
A lot of them are some of the ones that just really took the lead, like, of course, Ethereum. But there's so many technologies. I mean, most of our artists now, we're asking them to mint on Algorand because they have figured out so many of those problems. They're a carbon negative chain. They're 100 times faster. I mean, they're so much more secure. There really are already some options out there. It's just these other ones have so much brand awareness, really, and they've already been adopted. Like when we talk to people about building platforms, and they're like, "Well, we're going to do it on Ethereum." Why? And they're like, "Because that's what everyone's doing."
Right,
I'm like,
right.
Okay.
Right.
But it's fascinating to see the ones that, you know, from, like I said, from a technology perspective, they're really figuring out a lot of these solutions quickly.
Yeah.
With the last minute we've got left, real quick, what's next? What's next? Where are we going to be in a year when we all come back together and talk about Metaverse again at InfoComm in Orlando?
We're going to be talking about the digital twin. Every large company that has a manufacturing facility, they are going to have a digital twin equivalent to run simulations. I think BMW already has it, or I think Volkswagen, where they have a simulation of their exact manufacturing facility for their cars. So I think that's the next rendition, because that's already been kind of in the industry in the back end, where IBM is pushing that, large companies like Google is pushing that. So digital twin is going to be the big thing next year.
I can definitely agree with that, honestly. Even from the artist perspective, they're looking at environments, and it gives people an ability to kind of play in these environments and see, all right, what works, what's possible before doing something at scale.
Yeah. I mean, I'm right now, just as a fun project, I'm trying to create a digital twin of my house and then trying to simulate how much it'll cost me to add another area or put another bathroom in the basement. And I'm messing around with that type of stuff, but it takes a lot of work.
Like, I think between now and this time next year, like you'll have people knocking on your door, you know, asking for you know, your help with this solutions. You know, outside of the gaming, you see brands, but like we're in conversations and working with large enterprises, big enterprises, and also individual, you know, musicians, influencers, celebrities, athletes. Like you need to help create the demand, but the demand will be coming as well, because it's out there. It'll be a much different conversation next year.
Sweet.
Wonderful. Thank you all.
Yeah.
We appreciate it. Follow up. There's going to be more conversations on the AVIXA exchange next week and in the coming months about where the Metaverse is going, how it's impacting things, and we hope that you guys have a wonderful InfoComm. Thank you.
Appreciate it, everyone.
Yeah.
Joining us now on the Technology Innovation stage, Shannon McKay and Brian Minault.
All right, hey guys, it's great to see everybody live and in person. It's amazing to be here. I know it's a little warm. I'm from Texas, so I can't complain. This isn't that far different from home. My husband said it was gonna be 105 today, so I guess it's a dry heat, right? And Brian, you're from Raleigh, so.
I am from Raleigh. They do tell me it's a dry heat out here, out west, but so is my oven, so it's rather warm.
Yeah, but we're thrilled to be here today and talk about Lenovo's smart collaboration offering. It's no doubt that the workplace is changing, and COVID did everyone, you can argue, pros and cons of a disservice of this, but the way we work and how we work is very different, and so we want to talk to you today about how we see that transforming and the products that we have that fit in that space. All right, so let's talk about it. So, Brian, you've been with Lenovo for 16 years. You've seen a lot of change. We're known as a great PC maker. So tell us more about Lenovo.
So I get this question often about why Lenovo, and usually I ask the individual a question back, as I say, what pops into your mind when you think about Lenovo? And a lot of times the answers that I get back are quality, reliability, manageability, security, supplemental services, dedicated sales teams, and a global supply chain that is best in class. And I don't think that's something that we can overlook at the moment, particularly in the environment that we're all operating within today. What's more important than product availability? And when you look at Lenovo being the #1 compute manufacturer in the world, there's size and scale there that we use to our advantage. We also own and operate the majority of our own manufacturing facilities, which presents an opportunity for flexibility.
Yep, sounds great. All right, so like I said before, the world has changed, and as this slide sort of builds out, I know, show of hands, how many of you get dressed thinking about what are you gonna wear from the waist up? I'm famous for that. It's been an interesting time and it's awkward, but you know, putting on pants and heels, and I'm out of practice with my heels. You'll see me in flats in about 30 minutes, but the reality is that we haven't had to deal with that. And collaboration is key for us to innovate and do things. And you can only go so far without great technology. And we know that in this space, being in person and getting back to the way it's been is key. But we've had the benefit of being flexible and being to work from home. So Brian, I know you've had your own challenges besides me not getting dressed every day.
Are you talking about my children?
Well,
because I do have challenges with them in the home office. But I think this is a great slide that highlights why we are where we are right now, right? That first picture of traffic is actually Raleigh on a commute home, which usually took me about 45 minutes to an hour when I was in the office every single day. Now, when I'm not in that commute, I've committed that time to Peloton, which has been a great thing for my health. The conference room itself, I love that picture there. You got the mahogany table. That's your lawyer's office, right? You got the pleather chair, the big furniture. Who wants that when you can have the hip huddle space? That's what we want to talk about moving forward. Who's eating better? I'm eating better, right, with this hybrid model that we're working within right now. You got the fresh salad that you make out of, the ingredients from your own refrigerator versus the sad, sorry lettuce that's been sitting out for 2 hours in the cafeteria. Dry cleaning, I was spending $100 a month on dry cleaning. Now I've got the fresh button down in the Lululemon shorts right there, right? So it's worked out.
That's right. I don't even put makeup on half the time, which is kind of crazy.
There you go.
And with the gas prices, not driving to work every day, key, right? So the interesting part is employees are now demanding some sort of flexibility. And so for us to entice them back into the office, things have to change, and we have to have better technology to do that. All right, so let's talk about reinventing the workplace. Many of you have experienced sort of hot desking and more adoption of open collaboration spaces, but we also had a lot of large conference rooms, and all of us start from different form factors and different footprints. So if you think about not everyone being in the office every day, the reason to have a 40-room conference people or a 30-room conference room are kind of slim now. Not everyone will be in there. There'll be exceptions, but a lot of folks are now thinking about how do I repurpose space and use it in different ways. And it used to be if you had a small huddle room, you might pick up your PC, head into a room, and use your camera that's on your PC. But now with the COVID and the emphasis on better audio, better video, we're now seeing the need for new huddle spaces and smaller collaboration spaces in smaller groups. And the days of wanting to entice our people back to the office aren't just going to happen with free food and beer on Fridays. So we've got to have better technology to do that. So that's how I look at it. There's a nice blend. How do you see it? Lenovo's gone through a transformation.
We have gone through this ourselves, and some of your organizations have probably gone through this as well. So think back 2016, 2017 type time frame, right? I joke, I say most organizations, senior leadership had their Ronald Reagan moment. Mr. Gorbachev, tear down these cubicle walls, right? But fast forward to 2021 and 2022, people start showing up in the office again, and they enter and they look around and they say, this is no good. This is no good, right, for collaboration. And to your point, I don't think Pilsners and ping pong get people back into the office any longer, right? So it's got to be, the office has to work, and we are reimagining that right now and reinventing the way work works. The other piece is I equate this to, I always bring it back to sports, you know this, right? But I equate it to stadiums. Remember when the English Premier League brought fans back into their stadiums, or the NFL brought fans back into their stadiums? It's stadiums that sat 75,000 people. They let 7,500 in. There's no energy, there's no vibe in that environment. Nobody wants to be there. And that's the way I look at offices right now. We've got to bring energy back, we've got to bring a vibe back, and some of that starts with technology.
For sure. And I think the other thing is that a lot of people expect their technology experience to be equal or better than what they have at home. We have smart TVs, we have the Alexas, we have the Googles, we have all this technology that now makes it very easy to create smart homes. So when I come to the office, I don't want to have a tabletop tent telling me how to make my conference room work and spend 5 minutes starting to do that. Or a laminated sheet that's zip tied to the cable, right? Or it's missing and you spend 5 minutes fumbling through that. If we don't have consistent environments for our employees to use, again, it's not a great experience, and they'd rather stay home and do their conference call.
You got it.
All right, let's keep moving. All right, so we talk about hybrid collaboration and what that means for Lenovo. We look at it in 3 ways. One is that it's ubiquitous, and that simply means, you can go Google it, what the word means, but it means that it must work from everywhere, regardless of where you are. You might be at a coffee shop, you might be traveling in a cabin with your family, you might be in the office, or you might actually just be working from your standard home office. But it needs to be an experience that works. Secondly, it needs to be equitable, and that means that it works for all, but everybody feels included. What's interesting now today is we forget, even when we go into the office, that there's still 1 or 2 people who might be working remote. So how do they see what we're drawing on the whiteboard? How do they see us in the camera? The days of the dining room, conference room are sort of gone. If you aren't taking a U-shaped space and having a 360 camera or something that really captures the room and who's talking at that time, that person who's working from home still isn't getting a great experience, and they're going to be hesitant to fully engage and be transparent. And lastly, it needs to be seamless. I joked about the table tents and the directions. If it's complicated, people won't use it. If it doesn't work and you fumble through it, they're not going to go to that room next time. They're going to find something else, or they're going to BYOD their meeting and just take it into a smaller huddle room and still not take advantage of the fact that they're in the office and be sitting across the table with 2 or 3 people. They'll just take it at their hotspot. So that's how I look at it. But that's also a lot of marketing mumbo jumbo, right? So I am the general manager. I run the portfolio. Brian is our sales leader. So why don't you put it in customer perspective?
So ubiquitous, I'll own it. I looked it up. But again, work from anywhere. It has to work. And I've got a personal example of that where the VRBO story that I was mentioning to you on the side is last summer when we started to travel a little bit again, felt more comfortable getting out there in public. We had a VRBO that my wife booked, and in the VRBO descriptions, it had WFA employees, work from anywhere employees. Like, they know the acronym, there's got to be a spot for me, right? Ends up being a coat closet with an elementary school desk sitting inside of it. But with my virtual background, I was able to pull it off and nobody knew, right? So it worked out. Equitable, you're spot on. It's about, you can't have 2 classes of citizens. Those that are in and those that are out. It's got to be able to function appropriately for those that are participating in the room, and those that are outside of the room have to be an active participant, not a passive one. And then the seamless piece, I can't say it any better than Luis Berlanga says it, is that if Sally from HR or Steve from accounting walks into that room, you got a 1-button push out to your meeting, and it just has to work, full stop.
Right, it's got to be easy. All right, well, let's keep going. All right, so again, we've talked a lot about Lenovo in general. We've been in this space now from a hybrid collaboration, smart collaboration space for about 3 years. So you've been here from the early days. So tell now, why Lenovo, right? We might not be a name brand yet. People don't know, I didn't know Lenovo did that, right? So give us your perspective on where that journey's come.
Yeah, so I was fortunate enough to move into the role back in the fall of 2019. And at that time, we were just kind of finding our footing here in the space and trying to figure it out. But I think we recognized at Lenovo that core compute was going to be a bigger component and a critical component to the conference room. And based on our industry-leading solutions in that core compute space, we knew we had an opportunity to be successful within the conference room. I think it goes back to quality, reliability, and manageability. And I want to stop on manageability just for a second, because yes, I do believe we have best-in-class solutions, and we'll talk about that here in just a moment. But it's about remote diagnostics, it's managing the room remotely. It's being able to deploy a room remotely. So our ThinkSmart Manager software is something that I believe is a differentiator for us. And ultimately what we're hearing from customers, that it is enriching their experience with ThinkSmart as they deploy. So all of those reasons combined, and I will talk about the portfolio in a minute, but we've got more to do.
Yep, all right. So one of the things that you've heard a lot about is device as a service. We also look at collaboration as a service. About a year ago, Lenovo launched what we call TrueScale, and that means that we have a brand that allows us to market and promote anything as a service. And we feel like collaboration as a service, meaning we can come and help you with hardware, software, and a total solution around services and professional installation to really help you design and create a space that works for you. This is an interesting time, and not everyone has the same real estate. One of you may be working with a conference room in a footprint of 10,000 feet, the other one may be 100,000 feet. How do you repurpose that? So one size shoe fits all, there's not one design room standard that's gonna work. And changing the technology in each of these rooms, even if you stagger it over time, is a very expensive proposition. So we know that, and so this allows us to shift some of the costs to CapEx to OpEx. It's no different than many of you who buy a cell phone today and you pay a premium per month until you've expired your usage of what that phone costs. It's the same concept. So you can buy in, we manage and maintain those conference rooms for you when it's time to refresh, or if you need updating, whether it's new camera technology as AI continues to advance, that can be part of your package, and you can pay a monthly fee, a quarterly fee, an annual fee. It's flexible, but again, we understand where we are, and for us to, again, entice our employees back to the office, it's gonna take significant investment, and we know that that's a stretch on budgets. And so we do believe that this is gonna be another differentiator for Lenovo, where we can offer some flexibility and help kind of alleviate that pain point. Anything you want to add?
No, that's.
Right.
I just think that I say no and then I add. I think that is the way forward. I really do. I think that's a tremendous opportunity for us, even with partners, to make that a success for our customer set.
All right, so let's get into the portfolio. So this slide looks a lot different than 3 years ago. So we made some progress, but let's set some perspective.
We did make some progress here. And before we dive into the portfolio, I learned this firsthand at Lenovo, is that video is cultural in a lot of ways, right, within organizations, and it wasn't a part of our culture at Lenovo. I'll give you an example. I moved into the role in November of 2019. My first meeting is with our healthcare sales organization. There's 65 sellers or so that are part of that healthcare sales team. I'm now leading video collaboration at for North America. I figured I should probably put my camera on. I kid you not, I got pinged 6 times in 6 seconds that says, heads up, we can see you, your camera's on. I said, I know, could you please put yours on, right? But this thing, when we started in 2019, we had one solution and one solution only. It was the ThinkSmart Hub 500. Decent device, did what it was designed to do, but I did have a customer tell me, hey, Lenovo, I know you guys, you have the ThinkSmart Hub 500, you guys are the one-trick pony, and oh, by the way, your pony doesn't even have that good of a trick. Okay, fair enough. Give me some time, right? We're gonna build this thing out. And credit to you and your team, specifically, while we have been living through a global pandemic, there was a lot of white space on this slide previously, but now, instead of a one-trick pony, I think you guys have a stable full of studs ready to go run and win in the conference room.
Well, I appreciate that. So let's kind of start at the start. So you talked about ThinkSmart Manager, and that's kind of a staple for all of our products. But one of the things that we talked about is that we know we have small, medium, large, extra large rooms to address. And so a lot of these products are modular and work well together. So we have our ThinkSmart Core Kit. It comes in various sizes, again, to be adaptable for the size and space that you need. We have our ThinkSmart Core and Controller and Compute. We do power a lot of the compute that you see from Logi and Poly. In fact, we are the #1 compute provider from a Windows perspective when you think about just the overall collaboration space. So we do compute well, and we see a lot of our partners and our frenemies, if you will, even lean into that. But we also have the ThinkSmart Hub. It's the Gen 2 of what you referred to, and that's kind of a center of a room console that allows you to interact and work the room from one central location. And then we have some accessories, which is the ThinkSmart Cam and Bar, and then we also offer the Google Series Meet. One of the things you'll notice is we're trying to be quite agnostic. We want to support Teams, Zoom, and Google so that you have flexibility in what you offer. And again, in the past, we haven't had all that luxury and flexibility. And again, we'll scale up from extra small to small, medium, and large rooms. And that's how we look at it. And again, there's different configurations. We have a lot of installation services and our specialists who can help you really map out and design solutions that fit your budget, but also give you the best room experience. If you think about how rooms are laid out, if you're dealing with a lot of windows and sun glare, the position of the camera and how you look at that and what type of camera you use, those are little nuances that we hadn't really thought about in the past because video wasn't a primary thing. And now we're trying to future-proof our products and put in more compute power and other things to be able to support the AI integration of better technology and future-proof some of these things so that as new software features not come out just from Microsoft and Zoom, but also our camera providers and others, that we can take advantage of all those features because it does take power and compute to be able to take advantage of some of that software. So that's kind of our journey of where we've been. But we have something new and exciting to unveil today. And that is our ThinkSmart One. So Brian's gonna be my Vanna.
Here we go.
So the ThinkSmart One is a new all-in-one bar. We have not had an all-in-one bar, but the key differentiator, you might say, well, that's great. There's a lot of all-in-one bars out there today. They're Android. This is a Windows-based bar. This is a mock-up. Unfortunately, it's not a working sample. We'll have it in our booth after this so you can actually come touch and feel the product. But it has everything all built in. So it's an all-in-one, literally with compute, the best audio, the best visual. It has a 8 mic arrays, 15-watt speakers. It uses the Windows IT offering for Windows 10. And you get the luxury of some of the complications you don't have to deal with from an Android perspective, and you got a lot of the full functionality that our customers are used to when you think about our compute and other devices we already have in their portfolio today. It has an HDMI port, so you can plug in a laptop directly if you want to use it in a small huddle space. And lastly, it has a PoE connector as well. And that may help with some of the installation costs. And it works with our ThinkSmart controller that I just talked to you about on the prior slide. So it will be bundled with that if you need a controller to operate the room. So we're really excited. It mounts on the wall with a very simple bracket, so you can make it easy to adjust, again, based on lighting, room configuration. You've got some options, or you can leave it on a credenza or sit it on the table, so you've got some options there. But it's a really simple mount. Tilts forward, makes cable management super easy. You can lock it down and keep it secure. But anyway, we're super excited. And I think, again, it's just another addition to our portfolio that gives us some differentiation that we haven't had in our space. Any thoughts?
I just think ultimately there's a lot of organizations out there right now that are looking for that easy button, right? They've had a couple of years to figure out, hey, what's this back to office hybrid work model going to look like? A lot of folks didn't execute over the last couple of years, and now they need a solution. Not that we can't solve it with the portfolio that we have today, but I think ThinkSmart One gives us an opportunity to be a bit of that easy button.
Right, yep, so it's exciting times. So we didn't set time for Q&A today, but Brian and I will be back over at our booth, so if you have any specific questions, I see Luis is in the, raise your hand, there you go, Luis, and Kyle's ready to go out as well. We've got a lot of experts, Aaron's in the back. I haven't seen Tanya, but we have plenty of people. There he is. Tanya actually launched the product. Stand up, Tanya. This is your baby.
All right. Give him a round of applause.
Yeah. All right. I got to record my team. It's good, hard effort right here. It takes a village, but Tanya's been driving the bus. So these are all exciting days when you get to unveil this. It will ship later this year. The starting at price point is $25.99 from a US dollars perspective. And again, keep in mind this is an all-in device complete package, so you get the full bang. That includes the controller. And so we're super excited. It will launch later this year, so this is the unveiling, but again, we'll have more to come.
And I think they mentioned that they were collecting some questions on an iPad, but since we're not contractually allowed to touch an iPad, particularly on stage, just come over to the booth and we'd be happy to answer questions. But we appreciate the opportunity, and we hope you guys have a fantastic show. Thank you.
All right, thanks guys, take care.
Should probably take
I think the moderator needs to step up and. I think so, and that would be easier, I think. Yeah, because you have a completely different live stream, and then we have photographers on site as well.
Okay, because
first.
There you go.
Because is doing something like that.
Like, what is the Falcons gonna pay?
please welcome moderator Elizabeth Romero.
Ready to go? Welcome everyone. Thank you for being here. This is a nice morning here in our InfoComm. We're very excited to have everyone here. I have with me a great panel. We're going to talk all about learning and trends, where we're going, how did we get here, how do we get to where we need to be later. So I have with me these three panelists. I'm going to ask each one of them to just introduce themselves, talk a little bit about their background and what their perspective on this talk will be, and then start with Maddie.
Okay, cool. Hi everyone, my name is Madeline Mortimer. I'm the Global Education, Innovation and Research Lead at Logitech, and myself and my team focus on creating product portfolio and services that are built from the ground up specifically for K-12 and higher ed. And we're really focused on reducing the friction between technology and education.
Thank you.
Hi, my name is Brian Beatty, and I am now a professor at San Francisco State University. And before the pandemic, I was an associate vice president for academic affairs, operations overseeing all of our academic technology group. And in my world, I live in the world of HyFlex, or hybrid flexible course design. I teach all my classes that way, and I consult with a lot of institutions who are looking to do that. And what we're seeing, obviously, in the last 2 years, and now moving out of the pandemic, is a lot of interest in creating environments in our classrooms that not only supports classroom students, but also online students synchronously, and also online students asynchronously. And so we need our technology solutions that work well in the classroom, but also support those students in the other modes. We need to be able to record easily, reliably, and with as little load as possible on the faculty, because they've got so much other things to be concerned with. So I do research in that area, and I do a lot of, like I said, faculty development support, as well as teach a lot of grad students about what we're trying to do.
Thanks, Brian. Steve?
So I'm Stephen King, and I'm a professor of emerging technologies, and I run the Redefined Lab, where we leverage emerging technologies like virtual reality, augmented reality, and artificial intelligence to solve problems, one of which is doing that in hybrid educational experiences. And when COVID hit, we took my emerging technologies class and moved it fully into what's now called the Metaverse, of doing a 3D space, all virtual reality, so all the students showed up in class in VR headset into that 3D space.
So you see, I have a great group of people here. So we are welcoming your questions throughout the presentation. It's just 20 minutes, it's gonna go really fast. But I wanna start by asking one question that probably we have asked ourselves, especially the ones that are working in higher education during the last 3 years. What is changing now? What is pushing this change that we all are nervous about, thinking about? What is the reason that we'd be thinking about changing right now? Maddie, let's start with you.
Yeah, so definitely. We originally saw COVID really being the main driver for a lot of our customers, both in higher ed and K-12, looking into video collaboration and all of that. But what we're seeing now is a lot of higher ed institutions, especially, really recognizing the value, whether their students are remote or in the classroom. So what we're seeing is when you have the audio systems, video conferencing set up, not only the students in the classroom are really benefiting from that, they're able to be more engaged, but also students who are hybrid or remote as well. And so back to your question, originally we saw COVID really drive that, but now we're seeing student results and student engagement drive that change as well.
Students pushing for change. How are the students doing that? What is the expectation of students now?
Yeah, that's a great question. We've been doing hybrid flexible or HyFlex instruction for over 15 years, and a lot of other institutions has as well, but during the pandemic it was an incredible accelerator and a catalyst. So rather than having 100 schools doing this in the United States, there are probably more like close to 1,000 that are either doing it or piloting it or planning to do it. what we're finding is that a lot of our traditional schools are trying to get students back on campus to kind of recover the campus vibe that we had pre-pandemic. And yet when the students are given the option of coming to class in person, they're often asking to continue to do it online. Some are not ready to come back, and some have actually experienced online education in very, very successful ways throughout the pandemic and would like to stay that way. And so they're asking for more online courses, and I think they're really asking for more flexibility because they have incredibly busy lives just like all of us do. And so that's what we're really seeing, is that some institutions are going for it completely because they want to increase access. Our community college systems, the 2-year schools, seem to be catching on to that more than any other sector. And a lot of our other schools are trying to get students back, and the students are saying, yes, but maybe not yet, so I need some flexibility. So we do see some of these opposing pressures. I think what we're going to see in the long run is that most of our schools will adapt to some form of flexibility. It may be very small, it may be much more large. And then the challenge, I think, is for us to find ways to create that campus environment that's still powerful and effective and meaningful for students while giving them flexibility about how they attend. So we need a both and solution, not an either or.
Yeah, that's a great point. How do we get there is an interesting challenge. So we'll talk about that a little later in the panel. But first, I wanted to hear also from you, Steve. You mentioned the Metaverse and how you were doing that before the pandemic even. What change did you see throughout these past couple of years?
Well, we've seen the hybrid model of trying to do class in person and on Zoom, or all on Zoom, or whatever your favorite platform is. But one of the things I noticed as a professor is that in the real classroom, in an in-person classroom, students wait in line after class to come ask me questions and things. But on Zoom, that never happened. You know, class ends, that's pretty much the end of it. But in 3D space, in a Metaverse 3D environment, what we found was that students literally lined up at the front of the room to talk to me at the end of class, to ask me those questions in a semi-private, so it's not the same as being on Zoom, it's also not a private office situation, but they had that conversation that we weren't having before. And there was one example that I thought was really interesting, is that before class was starting, one of the students, she was an undergrad, and she had lost her opportunity for an internship because of some COVID regulations. And one of our graduate students was consoling her about it in this like off in the corner part of our 3D classroom. And that's something that would have never happened in a Zoom environment. And I think what you're seeing is that the students want that interaction. They want to have that human engagement, even if it's not fully, in person. They want to be able to have an engagement that's more conversational and personal.
Yeah, and there's many challenges that I think we're seeing in higher education to get to a point in which all this experience can be really manifested equally for everyone, everywhere. It's going to be challenging to do that. So what are some innovative ways in which companies like Logitech are thinking to support institutions like higher education, 2-year college institutions? How do you think that that's going to happen? What are the things that companies are doing now?
Yeah, so I think what's really important, and what we're doing at Logitech, is to view education, both higher ed and K-12, separately to corporate, businesses, government, because fundamentally the tasks to be done are entirely different. One of our latest innovations with the Scribe camera was really built for that environment, which enables lecturers, professors to have a wide camera angle of the whiteboard, as an example. And going back to my point earlier, it not only benefits students, whether they're remote or hybrid, but also students in the classroom. And so when we look at innovation at Logitech, we look at it from an every student perspective, and it's not just students who are remote, hybrid, it's students in the classroom, it's students with various adaptive needs, so looking at the whole picture.
Yeah, interesting. So, Brian, I think that in your experience, and you have been doing high flex and hybrid learning for a longer time, one of the things I'm seeing in higher education right now, though, is the need for accessibility as a big driver of adoption of different technologies. If the technology is not accessible, if the technology is not readily available and those kinds of things. So how do you think that that is going to be, that need is going to be met in the next couple of years?
Yeah, that's a very good question. And actually one of the 4 core principles of our approach for HyFlex has always been accessibility. And we tend to, when we talk about that, we talk about kind of our legal requirements to provide equivalent access to information and experiences to students, but it also includes providing access to students to the technologies that they need in order to participate in a path they choose. So if they want to be a synchronous online student, obviously they need a device to do that, they need a location to do that, and they need a network to do that. Asynchronous students, they also need devices, they need networks, etc. So that's an important part, and institutions, I think, are starting to take on more of the responsibility to support their students in that way. I live in a very urban environment, and even in my environment, we have zones where students don't have good access to like the network, and so we'll provide them with some access to network. We'll provide spaces on our campuses that allow them to join in these online paths in these courses that may be happening just across campus, but they're choosing to be a synchronous online student for some reason. So that's an important thing. So the institutions, I think, have to work together with vendors who can provide us with affordable and scalable solutions. We have 23,000 or more students. And when we talk about equipping our learning spaces, we have over 300 formal classrooms and another 100 teaching spaces we use commonly. So for us to equip everything, we need things that are affordable and scalable, of course.
Absolutely, absolutely. Stephen, we have a question from Jack in the audience. Could you please explain how UNC used the Metaverse successfully, and what was the cost for a classroom in an experience like this?
Yeah. So thankfully, when it happened, I already had a classroom set of headsets. So we have, we use the Oculus Quest 2. So you're looking at a $300 headset. So we had to ship those out. So obviously there's a cost, and we have to get those back and make sure that they don't get their grades unless they ship them back to us. So there was that. There was also, what we did was we leveraged our partners that you would meet here, Microsoft, and we were able to get onto, we started originally in AltSpace, and that was the first one we tried and started there. We quickly moved to Spatial, and that is my favorite one. We have created a unique environment that's an auditorium style classroom experience. We've also created a lab space that's more collaborative for small groups. And then we have my kind of private office where we can go and have a private conversation about your grade or whatever, and things you need to talk to the professor directly about. And so we built these spaces to be unique. The platform allowed for us to do that with students who had very little 3D knowledge. So we didn't have to have a Unity or an Unreal 3D developer. We were able to do that with our internal students. And so we were able to get up and going fairly quickly. So really the main cost became the hardware cost.
Yeah, and that's very interesting. So a follow-up question here is from another person in the audience, David. Since Second Life, and many of us that were here several years ago, 2 decades ago, remember Second Life, and that never really took off. So what makes this Metaverse now
Sorry to take it again, but I give a whole lecture on why Second Life failed and why this is going to be different. So one of the things we look back is sometimes technology and culture, they have to interact, and we have to look at how the two go together. And I don't think our culture was ready for that technological innovation. I think we're at a point now where there's an expectation of this type of thing. We've seen it in lots of different spaces. We've seen 3D space, we've seen avatars. We've been represented by, avatars or small pictures across social networks for 10 years. It's kind of now we're ready for that next step. So I think culturally people are ready for it. But also Second Life failed also because of business, right? There was a business need there. It was a significant high cost to run that operation. And now the companies that are doing what's similar to Second Life, they are huge, highly capitalized companies that are able to maintain a loss on those types of platforms for several years to build up that audience there. So I do think, I don't know which one's going to win, but I do think one of these big platforms will win in that kind of metaverse space.
Yeah, that's interesting perspective. I do agree with that. Second Life was completely different to what we see right now. And definitely the pandemic played a big role in moving the culture to push us to do more of video calls were not a thing before the pandemic. And now you see people walking with their video cameras talking to someone. It's very common. This is a complete change in culture that happened in our it's just 2 years. But that said, I still think that from the perspective of the instructor that is on the other end of this experience, there's a lot of lack of energy at this point right now. That's what I see in UIC, at least, University of Illinois Chicago, where I work. It is a lot of, our faculty are tired, our students are pushing for more hybrid, for more experiences that are similar to avatar type experiences. But our instructors are not, I don't think that they are necessarily neither ready nor all that excited to go into now training on what. So from your perspective, Brian, and you teach these concepts to in your courses, and your students are going to be out there teaching these others, instructors in the future. What do you think it can be done to change this, to improve the digital fluency of our instructors and really make it more pervasive in higher education, the shift?
Well, I think that's a really good question, and it is a big challenge in a lot of places. Some of the schools that are going towards more hybrid instruction are doing it from a top-down approach, which means the faculty aren't asking for it, they're being told, this is the way we're going to offer our curriculums. And that's a setup for some of these challenges in particular. Usually when I talk to groups, especially about faculty and administrators, I let them know that I think the most compelling driver for change for them has to be a why that's big enough and that they believe is there, so that they'll put in the extra effort, they'll put in the extra time it may take to change the way they're doing, and to adopt a more complicated way of teaching. It's a lot easier just to have a group of students in front of you, teaching the same way you've taught for probably 5, 10, 20 years maybe, and you're very comfortable with. Now you bring in some online students, and now you have to pay attention to those too, or you work with a teaching assistant or someone like that. So there has to be a case for change. The classic change management principles apply very much so here, just in an educational aspect.
Yeah.
So we have to pay attention to that. Faculty have to be prepared, they have to have technologies that work. If they go into this and they struggle with technology as well as the pedagogy, how they're going to teach, it's a recipe for disaster. I did that when I started, but I took that on gladly because I was that first adopter. And I wanted to try and see if this would work for me and for schools.
Yeah, and
so that's an important part of
the high flex piece, and many people confuse high flex with hybrid. The high flex piece actually focuses on the flexibility of the student.
That's right. Yes.
That makes a bigger challenge for the
That's right. So all the flexibility pretty much is on the students. The faculty prepares the online version of a course, whichever one or both they're providing, and then they use that to teach the students in the classroom as well as the students in the synchronous space. So the faculty have to believe this is important.
Exactly.
They have to be trained in the technology, but also the skills in facilitating learning in all these different modes, especially online, where most of us are not as well equipped if we haven't been doing that for a while. And because if the faculty's not there and they're not engaged and they're not enthusiastic about the learning and supporting learning in each of the modes, the students pick up on that. And then you'll see students who just gravitate toward the asynchronous space because they're less motivated, they're less engaged, and no one's going to bother them there. That's bad instruction.
That's the back seat on in the previous classroom experience. That's the back seat.
Yeah,
I'm going to sit back there so teacher.
Yeah, but we know we have students who have no access to the classroom or no access to the synchronous online. So their only access is asynchronous online. And those students can be extremely motivated because they're there to learn. So that's the challenge. And motivated students can learn in any of these modes.
And and the motivated instructor can teach in any environment. So it's interesting that we continue to have that dichotomy of challenge of how do we motivate students that are not motivated, and how we ask instructors to be more forefront, with teaching. So we have only 1 minute left, and I wanted to hear from you, each one of you, 20 seconds of what do you see changing this now? How do we see this going in the next couple of years? What's new?
So I'd say from our perspective, what we're seeing a lot is more of a focus on the accessibility standpoint, and more of a recognition that when you have the right tools in place, it reduces cognitive load both from the instructor standpoint, to Brian's point, the fatigue, the frustration on the professors' angle as well as on the student side.
Very important point.
Well, I think we're still in the middle of this grand forced experiment on us. If you would have asked us 10 years ago or 5 years ago or 3 years ago, could we just flip all instruction almost worldwide fully online in a matter of weeks? No way. Who could do that? The necessity was there. We were able to find solutions. We kind of groomed those over a year and a half. We're still in the middle of responding to this. We're not at steady state yet, but I do think we're going to end up with a more flexible higher education system in particular, and it's going to be, and part of that is a change in the faculty and their understanding of their job to be more flexible to meet students where they're at, just like most of the rest of the business sectors have had to do with their customer bases over the years.
Wonderful. Just final thoughts.
I think if you want to see where higher education's going, you have to look at the banking industry. Banking industry had buildings, they had set hours, it was you had to do it when they wanted you to do it. And now look at banking, majority of transactions happen remotely in a unique experience, and the banks have finally figured this out. I think you're going to see the exact same thing with higher education.
We will need like a 3-hour panel to really explore in depth all these things, but I hope that at least you get some sense of where the trends are going in learning and then how we can get there faster and more efficiently. Thank you so much, everyone, for here, and thank you, everybody, for being here.
stand. My phone's over there.
Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Harry Patz to the Technology Innovation stage.
Good morning. How's everybody doing? You just getting a comfy chair? You're ready to hear about Samsung Display. What do you think? Raise your hand if you're awake. Okay, good. So, really excited to be here. I'm Harry Patz, Senior Vice President and General Manager for the Display Division for Samsung Electronics America. I'm excited to share all our innovative technologies that are indeed hotter than the 108-degree temperature you will experience today. At Samsung, we've always been committed to innovation, figuring out what's next and that next great wave of technology. We're making deep investments in technologies like 5G, artificial intelligence, and continue to just innovate. And innovation's always been part of our heritage. We were the first with the flat panel, first with many other innovations. So we're really excited to share with them today great lineup of Samsung display technologies for the business. Well, so excited to talk about it. So, let me talk first about the Odyssey Arc. This is one of our newest big 55-inch monitors. One of the analysts called this a rolling cockpit of monitor madness. This 55-inch baby can work in horizontal or vertical mode for gaming, corporate work, whatever. It's phenomenal technology. We've also introduced our updated unit of the Smart Monitor Streaming TV. Now, in a 4K version, you can basically do all of your work, Microsoft Office 365, Google Docs, right from the monitor, even without a PC. And oh, by the way, it's also a streaming TV. So if you need that break, as we all do, watch your Netflix, catch up on Bridgerton, whatever you want to do. Finally, on the monitor side, for businesses, we have a complete portfolio with our webcam monitor and high-resolution lineup. These advanced units with clear and sharp displays are perfect for the engineer, analyst, or anyone who wants to get more done faster. So let's talk about LED and the wall. We've had our micro LED technology for a while. It's wowing hotel lobbies. It's wowing the homes of high net worth individuals, corporate lobbies, boardrooms, powerful technology. Engineered to defy the limits of visual innovation, the wall gives you robust colors and true deep blacks. And again, as we talked about artificial intelligence, that's a key part of the algorithm that's allowed these displays to render this powerful technology. But now, we're going to push the boundaries of the wall even further. We're introducing our slimmest version yet, the wall with 0.63 pixel pitch, available in 4K up to 110 or even 8K up to 220 configurations. These are powerful, robust displays, again, that will continue to delight and dazzle. I encourage you all to take a look at our booth and take a look at the wall. And by the way, again, just as a reminder, all of the wall displays go from down to the 0.63, our newest slim version, all the way up to 1.6 pixel pitch. But we've also heard from customers, where else can you work with the wall technology? So now we're excited to actually provide a scaled down version of the wall, what we call the wall all-in-one, which is a simpler, streamlined version. Again, this has a form factor that can be 110 inches all the way up to a 4K 146 inch. The great thing about this version of the wall, it comes packed. It's got an all-in-one pre-assembled bracket that can make it very easy. What takes days for the wall installation now can be done in hours. Very simplified installation, but still, again, gives that compelling, robust visuals. Many customers who have a legacy video wall, LCD based, 2x2, 3x3, have been asking us about such a unit, and we think the wall all-in-one is a phenomenal product for them to upgrade as they upgrade their corporate lobbies, their boardrooms, all signage around their business. Really excited about this. It comes with an embedded media player and an S-Box. Of course, we've had our interactive portfolio for a while. When we talk to schools, educators, corporations, everyone wants to collaborate. We're in a hybrid environment, so we want to collaborate easier. The main focus from what we hear and what we're trying to offer our customers is this really simplified, collaborative experience. That's what we want. We want an easy button, and we want the displays just to work. So, what we're doing with our displays, we now have introduced the Flip Pro, an updated addition to our interactive for both educators and corporation. It's available in both 75 and 85-inch models and allows multi-touch latency to allow simultaneous collaboration for up to 20 people. It's a phenomenal, phenomenal product. Again, whether it's in the classroom, whether it's in the corporation. And what's great about this is our technology has allowed us to replace the power cable, the USB connector, even an HDMI with the USB-C. Again, simplifying and making the display really, really easy. The stylus is intuitive enough even a young child can use. Also want to introduce our Samsung kiosk. We're very excited about this. A lot of our customers have said, look, how can you make self-serve easy? Some of the kiosks in the market have been, quite frankly, somewhat complicated to use. So we've made a very simple kiosk that allows you to handle grab and go, ordering information, entry in a very simplified, all-in-one, streamlined unit. We'll talk a bit about one of our partners and the manifestations of it. Really excited about the kiosk and the initial traction we've got since launch earlier. But now we've talked about the products. How do we also talk about how people are using them? Let's take a look. So Christopher Columbus High School is a school in Miami, Florida that's using the range of our technology. They're using our monitors to help in their STEM environment. They're using our interactive LFD panels to manage game plans for the scoreboard. They're using signage in the hallway. And all of this comprehensive system for the school system is done using our Magic Info content management system to provision the content that they want. Just a great example of an education use case using our monitors, our large format displays, and particularly our interactive displays. BurgerFi is a quick serve restaurant that, along with our partner Grubber, is using our kiosk to optimize the self-service and automated experience. This particular institution had some staffing challenges, so they used the kiosk to make it simpler. By deploying the Samsung kiosk, along with software from independent software and partner Grubber, they've basically increased the upsell 19%, and 52% of their orders have added add-ons. Phenomenal use case to address their staffing issues and to cross-sell and upsell across their portfolio. Got one more. And lastly, my favorite baseball team, and if you can't tell, I am from New York. The Mets have undergone recently a digital transformation where they've tried to delight their fans with an updated user experience. They have 300 large format displays around the stadium providing game views as well as interesting information. And again, they're using Magic Info content to manage all that in an IPTV environment. They have 12,000 square feet of LED displays. You can see some of the ribbon boards that are along the stadium tier decks. And again, next year in 2023, they will be updating the main scoreboard. The Mets have really focused on delighting their customers with a totally immersive experience as they transform their stadium from a static experience to an interactive one to delight their customers around brand takeovers and allow their fans to experience the game in a way they just simply can't at home. Samsung is very proud to be part of that with our display portfolio. With that, I would love to take any questions on anything that we've seen. I will check the old tablet here. How are the Mets, the first question I have, how are the Mets helping other brands to advertise better? Okay, I'm from that generation where you used to go to the game, you'd buy a hot dog, you sit down, and that was it. Maybe you'd see a Coke or Pepsi sign. With the ribbon boards and the tiers, the Mets are allowing a brand to take over. So they can have Coca-Cola or Pepsi displayed on every one of those screens I mentioned, the LED around the stadium, as well as displays. Suppose a movie might want to do a premiere for the Avengers '97. That essentially could skin all the screens in the stadium and allow allow the stadium to take over. So as opposed to just a static screen, it can be interactive with characters and all sorts of motions and advanced graphics. The feedback for the Mets advertisers has been extremely, extremely positive. Can you customize content on the kiosk? And the answer is yes. Grubber, again, just to use as an example, is one of our ISVs. We have 12 others that have used their content, again, in their case, a QSR ordering system. The system is flexible enough with some of these other ISVs as well as on your own to provision the content for the experience that you want for your users, or in some cases, your employees. Do you have plans to expand to more sports stadiums and different professional leagues? The answer is yes. We have a great portfolio already. If anybody watched the Super Bowl, if you watched the Super Bowl and you saw that beautiful infinity screen over SoFi Stadium, that's a Samsung experience. Here in Las Vegas, if you go to the Raiders Stadium, that's a Samsung experience. One of the 2 NBA finalists, the Golden State Warriors, that's a Samsung experience. But now with the Mets, we're starting to take our experience to more baseball stadiums, mixed-use developments, practice fields, so you'll start to see more announcements from us around major college stadiums, as well as additional pro league franchises. What innovations do you have for cost-effective conference room systems? So our interactive displays are a great way in conference rooms that you can use some of the leading collaboration apps, Cisco's WebEx, as well as several of the others. So they can be mounted to the wall, it can be on a stand in a huddle room that you can move, and you can have some employees interacting in that conference room, but they can also be employees that are remote or at home. It's pretty simple. We're working with other partners for some all-in-one systems, and you should see some news on that very soon. Thank you for the questions. How can interactive displays be used to raise engagement in classrooms? I have 2 daughters, 16 and 14. They're about to go through their final exams now. I kind of remember some teachers droning on. One of the great things with interactive is whether they're working on a document together, whether they are building a virtual volcano, that can allow students to participate, including some that are hybrid, in a very interactive way, in ways that the static textbook just simply can't. We're getting phenomenal feedback from educators, school superintendents, and others, like you saw at Christopher Columbus, that are really showing what's possible with some of our interactive technology. Can Samsung help with content management and creation? One of the great things about our display portfolio is we have a software called Magic Info. It is available in traditional perpetual license, or like most things today, in a cloud system. That allows you to deploy and manage all your screens. You could think of a QSR franchise that might have 13,000 locations. You can manage the content in all of those locations. Maybe you're a corporation and you've got facilities in New York, Chicago, Bentonville, wherever. You can manage the content in each and every conference room. Dynamically, some people seeing the same, something different. Our robust display portfolio, supported by Magic Info, is a key differentiator in the market. Any large display products enabling 8K resolution and HDMI 2.1. I don't know about the HDMI 2.1 spec. If you see me as I wrap up, I'll have one of my product folks and we'll figure that out for you. It looks like I am out of questions. So if anything else, thank you so much. Hope you learned a little bit about the Samsung display portfolio. Enjoy the rest of the show. Thank you very much.